All right, it's my distinct pleasure, Guillermo Mash here, Without a Roof radio program for October 2015, and I'm really blessed to have a young man here by the name of Carrington, whom I've met here on the streets of Chico and actually at Youth for Justice. A few times he's come in. And why don't you give us a little bit of background about yourself, Carrington, and how things are going for you?
Hi, I'm Carrington Forbes. I'm 22, and I started off on the streets. Like, when I turned 18 on my 18th birthday, I got kicked out, and I was still in high school. I still had most of my senior year left. I spent most of my senior year living on the streets, going to Fairview High School. I graduated, tried looking for a job, and couldn't find one.
Maybe you could describe a little bit, Carrington, how it felt going to school homeless, literally living. When you say living on your streets, you were living under a bridge, you were couch surfing. Give us a little understanding of your living situation and how it impacted your schoolwork and your life.
At the time, I had a truck, or it was a F-150, so I didn't really ever have gas in that thing, so I kind of kept it parked in the parking lot at Fairview. The principal there was very understanding with my situation. They provided me like breakfasts and lunch and stuff, and teachers would spend time with me after school to like help me study and stuff because I didn't have like internet access or anything. I lived in my truck for the entirety of the rest of my senior year. And really the biggest problem was nighttime. Once you get like out, there's a lot going on in town. Like it gets really boring just sitting in a vehicle, so you don't just like sit there all day. You go out and you try to find friends, and really the only people that want to hang out with homeless people are either other homeless people or people with severe drug problems, or like not everybody is judging on us, but the vast majority of people are just very quick to assume that we're lazy or there's something wrong with us and that's why we're homeless, and so they just try to push us away. So I fell into the wrong crowds for a little bit. Ended up having a really bad drinking problem for quite a while. I'd get blackout drunk constantly. I didn't drive when I was blackout drunk, but I'd be sitting in my truck because I had nowhere else to be, drinking, and then I'd go to school the next morning, and after school I'd drink and go back to school, and that was my senior year. And I graduated and I got A's. I did everything right. Well, not everything, but yeah.
Have you reconciled with your parents? I mean, how's things going now that you're a little more stable, a little 4 years older?
Things have gotten a lot better. We had a huge disconnection. I started traveling around for a few years, and I hit up like all 48 of the main states, and I made it to East Coast, just hitchhiking around, and my parents thought I was dead for almost an entire year. I didn't call them one time. So there's a huge disconnection from us, but we've been working on reconnecting. I'm in school now. I work for 2 local organizations, nonprofit organizations that are really amazing, that centralize on helping homelessness and mental health issue people, just getting help that they need, getting off the streets, getting reconnected with their families, and all these different things. I'm doing all the things that I needed help with and helping people that were in the same situation as me. So my parents are seeing that I'm really trying, and they're proud of me now. They tell me that we still have a big disconnection. We can't really talk for very long without arguing, but things are getting a lot better.
You know, maybe it's a good point to stop or elaborate on, because we talked before we turned the mic on about it's some really powerful words about socializing and how important that is to you and any person as an individual. Maybe if you could recreate that conversation.
I'm in a child development class, and I was learning a lot about how socializing is a huge part of our mental health, like being around people and actually like having things to do, having something to be proud of, things like that. Like they're all very important things, and it's very difficult to get that for a lot of homeless and homeless youth, because there's this huge social disconnection, like withdrawal. Like people look down on us, and they just like think we're disgusting drug addicts most of the time. Or like I've heard commercials saying, "Don't feed the homeless, you're enabling them." And I know several homeless people that are working several jobs, and they're still homeless because it's tough right now. I had a job for 5 months, and I was a student for a month before I finally started getting the housing program. And the only reason I'm even finally getting off the streets is because of amazing organizations that we have around here. And the longer you're on the streets, like the longer these people are on the streets, the more socially withdrawn they are, the harder it is to merge back into society. The longer you go without working, the harder it is to get back into working. The longer you go without going to school or studying, the harder it is to actually sit down and write something down on paper. And it's so difficult, and we're looked down upon and told to get a job. Meanwhile, we're trying. Like, I spent 9 months spending 8 hours a day dropping off resumes, going from place to place, begging for a job, and I couldn't find one because I didn't have a residence, and I smelt bad, and I was unkept because I was homeless, and I'd been living in a field on the outskirts of town. And I lived in that field for 4 months just outside of town, because it's not safe sometimes to sleep downtown. Like, I've been victim of multiple assaults in our own park from drunk college kids walking around, playing a game called Smash the Homeless Person. They just decided to stomp on us while we're sleeping, wrapped up in a sleeping bag. And there's 10 of them, and there's nothing you can do. You can't even run away. You're wrapped up, and it's tough. So I spent months of walking 15 miles a day just to get to school and work, and it's exhausting, and not very many people can do that, especially the longer you've been on the streets with drugs and alcohol and malnutrition and lack of sleep from being woken up constantly from either fights or cops telling us that we can't sleep here or somebody. It's a difficult thing for us to get off the streets.
I thought another cool thing about your story, man, you didn't tell me before that you did all 48 states. He's 22 years old and he's been to twice as many states. I mean, you learned so much being on the road, but you had mentioned a little bit about how traveling cured your social anxiety. Maybe you could elaborate on that, Carrington.
Well, I grew up really kind of sheltered. I didn't, so I was had really high anxiety when it came to talking or socializing with people. Like, I couldn't even order my own food at a fast food restaurant. I wouldn't introduce myself to anybody. I didn't even make my first move to kiss a girl on the cheek until I was 18. I was very socially withdrawn. And traveling, though, like, I learned, like, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. Like, sometimes, or most of the time, when you're out on the streets and you don't have anything, the only thing that you can survive on is the compassion of others. Experiencing that compassion is one of the most beautiful things I felt on the streets, and it was encouraging to just start asking for things, or I never felt comfortable for just like asking for things for nothing. So I picked up a guitar when I was 18. I started learning to play because I saw a lot of other people playing, and I felt maybe it wouldn't be so bad to just like, play some music, entertain people. If they want to give me money or food or whatever, that would work. And so I did that, and it started working out a lot better, and I got a lot better at playing guitar, and I found out that I can sing. And so I just started, and I have a pretty loud voice when I sing, and I started singing all over the place. I've traveled all the states, completely surviving off of just singing and playing guitar in different areas. Sometimes I'd get a job at like a Pickles or something, like flying a sign, like those guys wearing the big foam suits. But most of the time I'd just like make my living with that, and that completely just started getting me to open up and like not care what people looked at me. And when I started going into like new environments, and I was going into a new city every day, I didn't care what people thought of me because I probably wasn't going to see them ever again in a few days. Just like helped me really like learn to open up to people. One of the amazing things about the streets or traveling around is like I got to experience human compassion firsthand and the giving of others, but I also got to see how ugly people can be and how prejudiced a lot of people in this nation can be.
You got any travel stories that come to your mind that you'd like to share with us? Maybe put a smile on our face?
This one time I was traveling through Florida, and I wasn't in any particular town. I can't remember the highway. I think 82 or something. I can't remember. But we were going down, and it started raining. I was with my friend Bubba, and this guy, is a very large guy. This guy was like 6'7". His arms were like a foot across, like just in girth, like very large guy. And I had this tiny little pop-up tent that looks like the little kid tunnels that they crawl through. That's like a foot in diameter, little pop-up things. And it was this tent that stood a foot off the ground, and it was for one person just sleeping in the rain. And it was like all camo, and we ended up having to huddle up in this thing. Like, this thing was big, this thing was smaller than him, so when we got inside this tent, it looked like it was just like a wrapped up sheet tightly wrapped around two large guys just hugging each other. And this rainstorm happened for like a good 30 hours, and we were just holding each other like the whole time, shivering. Mm-hmm. It was an interesting little bonding experience.
Yeah, I'm kind of got a visual of that. That's a bonding experience for sure. And you stayed dry, or at least as best you could. Sleeping in a tent when it's pouring, you don't stay completely dry.
No.
You try to stay damp instead of being wet.
Yeah, it's better than nothing.
You know, how are things going for you now? I mean, I asked you that question as we were walking into the studio, and you had some beautiful responses to that.
Honestly, life is really going amazing. I'm going to school. I'm a full-time student now, so it's going great. I'm enjoying my class. I'm taking a child development class. It's amazing, and I have 2 amazing jobs. And I get to help people every single day, and these jobs provide me with information to where I can help people with services and provide them with the help they need. I've been helping get so many different homeless youth in this town into transitional housing, or just aware of the resources where they can get fed, and it's been really gratifying. And I'm just after a long time of working really hard and seeing nothing, it's really wonderful finally seeing some fruits for my efforts. And so yeah, everything's going really good. I'm currently working as a night staff. That's what got me in the housing, and soon I'm going to be getting my own place, and in about a month. And at that point, I can't imagine my life being any better.
So you're not in the field on the outskirts of town anymore?
No, fine.
God bless you, man, because that was only a few weeks ago that you were on the outskirts of town.
Yeah, no, I got an amazing opportunity just over a week ago. Yeah, it's been really amazing. I'm working with amazing people, getting to help amazing people that have just gone through some tough parts of their life, and they're working on getting out of it just like I am, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that nonprofit, and that's a wonderful, wonderful place to be. And Carrington's already committed on his own accord of maybe doing some backstories on these 2 separate entities that you work, so we can kind of shed a little light on the beauty that you're extending to our community members in Chico, California. What else should we know about Carrington? I mean, we've talked a little bit about your past and your present, and we haven't talked a little bit about your future. Maybe we should talk about your future, or what would you like to talk about or make us aware of that we haven't discussed, Carrington?
If you want to know my future, or what my plans are.
Yeah, let's hear them. I'm excited.
Well, currently, my goals have always been I want to be a science teacher for high school, because high school age was the most difficult time of my life, transitioning into an adult, and I feel like a lot of teachers don't prepare high school students for the expectations of adulthood. And so I've always wanted to really do that. That's lately become kind of a side thing. I want to do that, but my biggest thing is I want to get a small piece of property, make a small semi-self-sustaining farm, build a large house, and start a foster home. Traveling around, I've noticed so many of the homeless youth, most of them are foster kids, and it's because once they turn 18, they're just they're kicked on the streets. They got nothing to do. They don't know what's going on. It's tough, and I would like to I myself can't help with this whole problem everywhere, but I want to do my part, and I'd like to have a really large foster home, maybe for mentally disabled children. Honestly, I just would like to help. Maybe keep working for nonprofit organizations, volunteer. If I grow enough food, donate to these different organizations that feed the homeless youth and homeless. Well, at some point, I want to take off a year or so and travel Europe, because I've kind of traveled all of America, but I kind of want to see the rest of the world for a little bit and then come back to do. Yeah, that's my general plan. That's what I'm working towards now.
If I was to ask you right now, Carrington, 60 seconds, give us your soapbox on what you think we could do to improve the situation for youth here in Chico, what would that be?
Honestly, just acceptance. Like, stop withdrawing from them, stop looking down on them, and start accepting them as another human being that is beautiful and completely capable if you just give them a chance. And they're just somebody that's in a bad situation. Everybody makes mistakes and everybody falls down, and honestly, like, if we all just work together, this wouldn't even be a problem.
What would you say to this? It's my favorite mantra, a quote from an advocate that I've grown to respect dearly from afar. She's in the Bay Area, but she has a quote that says, next time someone tells you people are homeless by choice, simply ask them why only poor people make that choice. What could you add or say to that?
Yeah, oftentimes homelessness is a choice. Yeah, the thing about that is the choice is normally like the lesser of two evils. Like, the choices most people that choose to be homeless are presented with, like, for instance, is like the foster kids that choose to be homeless. They're in an abusive home or just neglectful, and everything, they hate their lives there, and it's not worth it. And they find at least some acceptance with other homeless people on the streets, where they at least we care about our fellow homeless people. We love each other for the most part. And so, yeah, some people choose it. It's not a good alternative, but it's better. And a lot of people just are in abusive situations or horrible situations, or they're just so broke that they literally spend absolutely all their money on just the rent, and they have no food or anything. Some people don't make enough money to support anything but just like $200 a month. And so, yeah, choosing to be homeless is a choice technically, but it's not really a choice because we're forced into that decision.
I'd just like to thank you for coming in, Carrington, and I think we're going to do this again. Maybe this will be the forward promo. I would love to record you singing with your guitar, dude, and we could air that on the same show. Do you have a guitar local?
Yeah, it's at my small little room right now.
So we're going to hear Carrington on guitar and vocals. Give me 5. I like to do the 5 thing. All right, man, I'm pleased to have Carrington doing his thing, man. House of the Rising Sun with his little twist on it on KZFR 90.1 FM.
New Orleans, they call the rising sun, and it's been the ruin of many young poor boy. And God, I know I won. My mother was a tailor. She sewed my new blue jeans. My father was a gambling man down here in New Orleans. Now the only thing a gambler needs is a suitcase and a trunk. And the only time that he is satisfied is when he's only drunk. To do what I have done. Spend your lives in sin and misery in the house of the rising sun. I've got one word on the platform, and another on the train. I'm going back home till New Orleans to wear that ball and chain. To wear that ball and chain.
Give it up. I hear you clapping out there, Chico and Beyonds. That's awesome, Carrington. Thanks, man.